welcome to our final hour of the 3-Hour News Show. You are still watching our signature segment, See the Stories. Now, Messi, why do you look like you are waiting for someone?
I am waiting
I feel
for
ignored. You're constantly looking at your watch, and I'm still looking at the camera, not to you. I'm trying to ignore you because you're ignoring me.
Well, I'm really sorry for ignoring you. It's not that It's 6 o'clock, it's 6:04, and our friend, our friend, is supposed to arrive. Sometimes you and I don't want to name drop the guy, but he's an American content creator.
You have quite fancy friends.
Don't we all? And he's coming to
that.
visit our studio. He says he's taking a motorcycle, an ojek here, so we'll just have to see where he is. I don't know, I can't seem to get into contact with him at the moment.
Ojek.
Right.
Do we see an ojek?
Do we see?
Where is the ojek?
It's an empty studio. This is a pretty massive parking lot as well, you know, it's plenty of space. Where are they?
Where is the ojek? Usually when the ojek arrives, some kind of music is supposed to come. I don't know. Oh,
That's true.
wait. Oh, we see the ojek.
I was
No music.
almost ready
That's
to
too
call
bad.
an ambulance.
Woo!
Okay.
This is like, okay.
No canal pot, yeah? Okay, good.
No,
You're safe, you're all good.
Thank you, CJ.
See you.
Thanks, CJ.
Alrighty.
Sorry,
Wow.
I'm late.
Oh, no,
No, you're just in
It's
time.
Jakarta, you know?
It is.
In traffic.
Traffic's
I
quite
love
bad
that.
Indeed, yeah.
He knows Jakarta.
It really does. Anyway, welcome to the studio,
Thank you.
Bang Jo. And for those of you who don't know, Bang Jo, he is an American content creator who often makes some fun content about Indonesia. You might see him on TikTok or Instagram.
Yeah, but before we begin our little chit-chat here, let's check out the following video.
Ketika kamu sudah lama tinggal di Indonesia, tapi pulang ke Amerika.
It's hot, yeah? What? I said it's hot, yeah? Why do you keep saying yeah after everything? Eek, what's your problem? What was that? Are you sneezing? Are you sick? Who said I was sick? What was that? You have hiccups? Boo! Aduh. Who are you?
So here we have Bang Jo in the studio. Now you got a lot of projects, right? Not just your TikTok things. We heard that you also have a podcast.
Yes,
now?
Buaya Barat podcast with Damien Hu.
Yeah, we had Damien actually a couple of months back here in the studio. That's how I knew about you.
Good, thank you.
Yeah. So since you've been so familiar with Jakarta,
Yeah.
including the ojeks, you
Yes.
know. So what do you think about the local lifestyle here in Jakarta?
Well, I used to also live in Medan and Bandung, so I have an idea of
Okay.
like the 3 different places.
Okay.
Jakarta's so big. It's so big.
Yeah.
Just to come even here, I live in the east of Jakarta, and it's just a big city. So there's lots of energy here. There's a life pulse to it. You know, like you know. But it's a big city. You know, for foreigners to come here for the first time, it's got to be a bit daunting. You know, if they've never been to Southeast Asia. And Jakarta's their first landing spot, I imagine it's a bit of a shock for them. But you get used to it, and I like it, you know? Lots of food and everything.
Was that a shock for you when you first arrived in Jakarta?
Not so much.
Or did you?
'cause
Or what kind of shocks do foreigners usually report to you when you socialize?
It depends. Because a lot of times foreigners, they've traveled a lot before you meet them in Indonesia. So like, you know, there's a good portion of them that have, you know, very little culture shock. Now, the ones that have never left America or never left Europe and they come straight here, then it's usually the bathroom situation.
Right.
The first
yeah.
and foremost, the toilet jongkol, and yeah, that's usually the thing that hits you first. For me, I'd already experienced that around the world, so it didn't really hit me so hard. I would say the noise. There's a noise to this country.
Yeah?
It's loud, you know? It can be loud at times. Motorcycles, food sellers, the sounds that you're just not used to hearing, especially at night. And if you're living in the kampung, I mean, obviously Jakarta is much bigger, but that can be quite shocking to you. The chickens in the morning, if you're not used to that, that's a culture shock. But for me, I was okay with it. Like, I got used to it.
Indeed. Jakarta is quite a chaotic place,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, but I love the city though, that being
Yeah.
said. So, I mean, you know, we talked about it earlier, you knew of Indonesia from your pen pal, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in 1998. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about that?
Well, basically, I've always been into geography and traveling. Even when I was a little kid, I was dreaming of traveling. So I knew what Indonesia was, and I'd heard about Bali on TV. We have Travel Channel
Right.
in
Yeah.
America, and there's always, you know, the top spots in Bali. You know, it's Bali, it's Tahiti, it's all, you know, different
Yeah.
places. But with Indonesia, I was in a chat room when I was 17 years old in the late 90s, and I had met this girl, and we were talking back and forth, and turns out she's from Indonesia, from Jakarta.
Okay.
And she sent me some postcards, and she told me about Indonesia and everything. And then eventually, she was moving to Florida, which is where I'm from.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
She eventually came to Florida, lived there for a few years. I was young. I mean, I couldn't really just get up and go and meet somebody. But in the end, she moved to Washington State. She lives there now, or maybe she moved back, and I'm here. So it's weird that we
Switched.
She helped.
Sides, yeah.
Yeah, she introduced me to Indonesia, like really, and now we switched.
But now that you're already here, and if I'm going to say you've been here for how long?
12 years.
12 years.
Well, it depends. Valentine's Day 2011 was my first time coming in the second time, because I did go to Bali.
For a holiday
In
before.
2007, I was there for 3 days.
Okay,
so I
it
don't
didn't count.
really, yeah.
Don't count. So now that
Could
you've
say it's
been
another
here,
country.
it's been over a decade now, that's
Yeah.
for sure, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
as a foreigner or bule content creator
Right.
living here in Jakarta, what inspired you to actually start making content about Indonesia?
Boy, nothing really. It was. I think a lot of content creators now in 2023 have the similar story. It was the pandemic. We were at home.
Yeah.
We were bored, and TikTok was popular.
Yeah.
TikTok
True.
grew. So I was talking to a friend. He's like, "Oh, you should make a video." I was like, because I like comedy. I'm in love with comedy. I just everything comedy. That's kind of what interests me the most outside of what I already do. And I just thought, well, if I could make people laugh, that would entertain me during the pandemic. So I made my first video, Bule Makan Satu Hari di Indonesia, using the knife and fork to eat nasi padang.
Yeah.
And the second, Bule Satu Bulan, and he just like throws it all in his mouth. He knows he's got to eat with his hands, but he doesn't know how to do it yet. And then Bule Satu Tahun, he's got the right hand, he's scooping it in, he's got his angkat satu kaki. You know,
Very
and
Indonesian.
that video that night, I posted it around 7 o'clock. By 9 o'clock, I was getting messages from everyone all over Indonesia that I know, like friends of mine in Medan and Bandung. You're going viral, you're going viral. And I was like, oh wow. And then from that point on, it was just videos every day.
Wow.
Every day. Like during the pandemic, it was like 4 or 5 a day. Now it's once a week maybe. Like I try to do it, but it's tough with a full-time job as well.
But it starts with the momentum, right?
Yeah, it really
Especially
does,
content
yeah.
creating.
And it's just about making people laugh. I mean, that's really the core of it. I like to be silly. And I always say, like, Indonesia is a treasure trove for a foreigner, for comedy. And I mean that in the nicest way possible.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there's a lot of, like, because comedy is all about the miscommunication, the mishaps, the zany things that happen. So there's no end to it. So yeah, that's why I make the content.
Very interesting. And I saw in one of your videos as well that you were deeply impressed with Banda Aceh and Medan in North Sumatra. Can you tell us why?
It was early on, you know.
Okay.
When the first things you do, usually you form the most memories of like the real, core memories. I wasn't working
Right.
yet, so there wasn't like that attachment of like, okay, it's just everyday life now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Medan, I just fell in love with it. I'd never heard of it really before. I'd maybe heard of it in books and things like that about Indonesia, but I didn't really know what it was. And it was, like I said, Valentine's Day 2011. I showed up at the airport, Polonia, and went to a guest house, and there were other people there. We're all like, what's this place? we know there's orangutans. We're all there to go to Bukit Lawang and Lake Toba. and all that.
okay.
But Medan is like, literally, and I hope I've said it enough in my life living here, I love Medan.
Yeah.
But it's another one of those places that can be difficult for a foreigner to get used to. It's very hectic.
Is it even more hectic than here?
I think on a different level. This is just an enormous metropolis, but Medan is like, it's just a little bit, I say, Wild West, we say, the foreigners kind of way. It's a little wild. It is, the traffic laws aren't there, the honking of the horns, it's much more of an aggressive lifestyle and driving and everything. So, but I like that kind of thing. And for me, after moving to Medan and living there, I thought, oh, it's not just a noisy city. The food is amazing.
Yeah.
The people are lovely. And and I liked it, I guess, because, foreigners, they either go to Bali or they go to Jakarta.
So you don't see as much foreigners as you do?
No, I could go a week,
Without
2
not
weeks,
seeing anyone?
and not seeing another foreigner,
Wow.
other than the people I work with or live with.
Right, of course.
But no, you could, yeah. I mean, it got to the point where me and my friends, we'd be like, ooh, ada bule. Like, we would be surprised that there's a bule there. So, yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's a unique, different place, and I love it a lot. And Banda Aceh was the second place I went. did a trip to Sabang and Banda Aceh. And again, it's just a beautiful city. Yeah, it's just nice. And Sabang, I mean, you can't really go wrong with a beautiful island like that. And it's not as crowded as a Bali, and not many people know about it, you know,
Yep.
foreigners. So it's just, yeah, a lot of nice.
It's too bad because, you know, Sabang is the most west point,
Yeah.
the westernest point of
Yeah.
Indonesia, right? So yeah, it should have been a, you know, big, how do you say, tourist destination
Yes,
at least.
yes.
But you know, you've mentioned before just how different every single area of Indonesia is. We're
Right.
very well known to be a very diverse country.
Right.
What can you tell us about the characteristics that you've discovered, you know, being here?
Right. Well, as diverse as Indonesia is, I still would like to say that you guys are all also very much the same. Like the values, the things that are important to life here. I always find it's family, it's God, it's food, you know, it's
Yeah.
health. It's all there. But yes, there are slight differences, and I think it mostly has to do with the language I found.
Okay.
And not just that they speak different languages, but maybe the sound of the language,
Yeah.
what the language means, and how it comes out to us as a foreigner. You know, Medan, I think, pretty famous for being a little bit more keras, you know, a little harder of a language.
Punchy, yeah.
The Bataknese. They sometimes when I hear Batak speaking Batak, it sounds Italian to me. They really, because they're like da 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 da. It's very like punchy language.
Yeah.
And so it kind of, maybe that transfers over into the personality a little bit.
Yeah.
Much more like, hey, let's go, direct and doing things like that. In Java, I would say I have more experience with Sunda because, yeah, living in Bandung for 3 years, I find Sunda to be, I don't know how to say it, but like a very light-hearted people and the language. It's very like, I don't want to say flirtatious, but it comes out very, very fun and very, everything's okay. You know, and so, yeah, I find it to be a much more laid-back, relaxed environment. I don't really know much about like Kalimantan. I've never been to Sulawesi.
Right.
I wouldn't really be able to speak directly on them, but as far as like Medan and Bandung, yeah, there's some differences in the lifestyle.
You know, you can probably see why, even within Indonesia, within ourselves among Indonesians, different backgrounds, things even get lost in translation,
Yeah.
even though we speak the same language.
Exactly,
Now he
yeah.
understands.
There's a lot of different little differences. I can't find the word for it for some reason.
Yep.
Like if
But
I came in
anyway.
on my kereta today, that would be motorcycle if you're in Medan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
there you go.
different words. People
Yeah.
get confused by
Little
that.
nuances here and there, right?
Yeah.
And obviously you've been to lots of different parts of Indonesia. You've met I can imagine a ton of different people as
Yeah.
well. But you know, from the viewers and from the people that you've met as well, especially Indonesian netizens, what has been the response on your videos and you know, in commenting on Indonesian culture?
I have to say that, to my surprise, like, oh, not to my surprise, maybe to the surprise of Indonesians,
Okay.
it's been positive. You know, I've almost like waiting for the hate to come. I'm waiting for the cancellation, the ball to drop. Because the video you just saw there, I'm making fun of the mannerisms.
Right.
And maybe, just maybe, if this was in America, and I was doing it about another culture, people might kind of be like, why are you doing that? Whereas here, I think people are more accepting of that. It's fun. It's silly. And I think people understand that I love what I'm doing here, and I mean no insulting or anything by it, you know. And I make the content, and I think most of the comments are positive. Every now and then you get like the netizens, you know,
Yeah.
pulang ke negaramu, but that's very rare. That's very rare. I think the content creators in Bali get a little bit more of the hate because, you know, maybe they're making content that seems a little bit like, hey, look at me on the villa. They don't
Right.
really mix with the Indonesian
Right.
people, you
You're a
know.
lot more label.
Yeah. So those people usually get a little bit more of the drama, and I don't really get too much, and I'm happy about that.
Well, because those people who get the drama usually make content of, you know, destroying vandalism or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
That's different, whole
Yes,
different
yes.
level. You actually put a lot of thought into your content.
I mean, maybe do I put thought into it, or I just have so many experiences to like draw?
Do you have a list of experiences that you have?
No. I mean, it's there in my head, and
Ah.
I'm
Okay.
slowly running out. I mean, that's why I'm not posting as much lately. But no, it's just so many things. It's kind of like a stand-up comedian would do. Is like, all right, here's a situation. I go to this place. I go to the market. What can happen at the market? What has happened at the market? You know, and yeah. So I just pull from that, and I have bits that come out, and yeah, I pull from it. Sometimes I exaggerate a little bit on how crazy something is, but you know, that's what comedy is about. Helps people laugh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it takes a lot of acceptance to be able to laugh at yourself and your culture.
Yeah, it really does.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
See the stories will continue after the break, and we're still going to continue our chat with Bang Jo and play a game, right, Messi?
Oh, yes,
Don't
we
go
will.
anywhere. Stay tuned with us and we'll see the story.